Jaya Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava. Jaya Kunja Vihari. Kopirana Vallabha Grivadari Jaya Grivadari. Gopirana Vallabha Grivadari Jaya Grivadari. Yasodanandana Raja Dhanaranjana Jaya Raja Dhanaranjana. Yasodanandana Raja Dhanaranjana Jaya Raja Dhanaranjana. Yamuna Dhiravarachari Jaya Kunja Vihari. Yamuna Dhiravarachari Jaya Kunja Vihari. Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari. Kopirana Vallabha Grivadari Jaya Grivadari. Kopirana Vallabha Grivadari Jaya Grivadari. Yasodanandana Raja Dhanarandana Jaya Brada Dhanarandana Yasodanandana Radha Dhanarandana Jaya Radha Dhanarandana Yamunatiravarachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamunatiravarachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahangsa Brahmadakacharya Asadhara Situshi Shiman His Divine Grace Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Smaraj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hariva Slava Zabrani Bhakta Slava Shri Guru Shri Gurangi Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhute Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vicharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskyadyade Siddharane Om Agyanatimanandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksura Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Pandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalan Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghanatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vrijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakans Vitams Cha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanshena Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sudadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Trubhyascha Kripa Sinubhyevacha Patidanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivastadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We continue reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 22, the descendants of Ajamita, and we're reading from text 41, and we're going to have a whole lesson on names. That is, it's the Bhagavatam in this section is this one name after another of the kings. So if you're excited to find out who the kings were 5,000 years ago, you came to the right lesson. Otherwise, these names must be transcendental because they're in the Bhagavatam. So even if we don't know who they are, and I don't think any of us know who these people are or who were, still, inexplicably, imperceptibly, we're becoming purified just by hearing their names. Maybe not to a high degree, but something is there. Just the fact that we voluntarily came to hear the class, we get some credit for that. Although we have no idea who these devotees or who these kings are. Anyhow, hopefully I'll pronounce them at least correctly. From Suchirata will come the son named Rishtiman, and his son Susena will be the emperor of the entire world. The son of Susena will be Sunita, his son will be Nrichakshu, and from Nrichakshu will come a son named Sukinala. So these are all predictions. So we think that we're in control here, that we have to display our individuality that will make a difference in the world. But 5,000 years ago, Shukadeva Goswami already knew who was going to be whose son. So it doesn't look like everyone had a whole lot of free will there in choosing. The son of, it's inconceivable. One after another, how things are just organized by Krishna, karma. The son of Sukinala will be Pariplava, and his son will be Sunaya. From Sunaya will come a son named Madhavi. From Madhavi, Nripanjaya. From Nripanjaya, Durva. And from Durva, Timi. How would you like to get a name like Timi? Okay. Because it's not so bad in Finnish. Hey, Timi. Oh, okay. Hey, Timi, how are you doing? Sounds a little familiar. Anyhow, from Timi will come Brihad Vrata, and from Brihad Vrata, Sudasa. And from Sudasa, Shantanika. From Shatanika will come Duradamana, and from him will come a son named Mahinara. The son of Mahinara will be Dandapani, and his son will be Nimi, and from whom King Shamaka will be born. I have now described to you the moon god's dynasty, which is the source of Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, and is worshipped by demigods and great saints. In this Kali Yuga, Shamaka will be the last monarch. Now I shall describe to you the future of the Magadha dynasty. Please listen. Sahadev, the son of Jarasandha, will have a son named Marjari, and from Marjari will come Shrutashrava, from Shrutashrava, Utanu, and from Utanu, Niramitra. The son of Niramitra will be Sunakshatra. From Sunakshatra will come Brihatsena, and from Brihatsena, Karmijit. The son of Karmijit will be Sutanjaya. The son of Sunjaya will be Vipra. And his son will be Suchi. Imagine sitting there on the bank of the Ganges, fasting for 7 days and nights. And listening. I guess there must be some mystical realization you get by hearing these, if you're on a very high platform of consciousness. Otherwise, could you imagine fasting and staying awake at night and hearing all these names? Wake up, Parikshit. The son of Suchi will be Shema. The son of Shema will be Suvrata. And the son of Suvrata will be Dharma Sutra. From Dharma Sutra will come Sama. From Sama, Dumatsena. From Dumatsena, Sumati. And from Sumati, Subala. From Subala will come Sunita. From Sunita, Satyajit. From Satyajit, Vishvajit. From Vishvajit, Ripunjaya. All these personalities will belong to the dynasty of Brihadrata, which will rule the world for 1,000 years. Purport. This is the history of a monarchy that which began with Jarasandha and continued for 1,000 years as the above-mentioned kings appeared on the surface of the globe. That's in the Bhaktivedanta Purports of the 9th Canto, 22nd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, titled The Descendants of Ajamita. Well, if you weren't satisfied hearing those names, here's some more. Shukadeva goes, text 1, the dynasty of the sons of Yayati. Shukadeva Goswami said, Anu, the fourth son of Yayati, had 3 sons named Sabanara, Chakshu, and Pareshnu. O king, from Sabanara came a son named Kalanara, and from Kalanara came a son named Srinjaya. From Srinjaya came a son named Janmanjaya. From Janmanjaya came Shala. From Mahashala, Mahamana. And from Mahamana, 2 sons named Ushinara and Tikshu. The 4 sons of Ushnara were Shibi, Vara, Krimi. Krimi means worm. Imagine naming your son Krimi. Oh, best of the worms. And Daksha. And from Shibi came 4 sons named Brishadharma, Sudhira, Madra, and Atma Tattvavit Kekaya. The son of Diktikshu was Rushadrata. From Rushadrata came Homa. From Homa, Sutapa. And from Sutapa, Bali. By the semen of Diragatma, and the wife of Bali, the emperor of the world, 6 sons took birth, namely Anga, Vanga, Kalinga, Suma, Pundra, and Odra. The 6 sons headed by Anga later became kings of the 6 states in the eastern side of India. These states were known according to their names of the respective kings. From Anga came a son named Kalapana, and from Kalapana came Divirata. Well, here's a story at least. From Divirata came a son named Dharmarata, and his son was Chitrarata, who was celebrated as Romapada. Romapada, however, was without issue, and therefore his friend Maharaj Dasarath gave him his own daughter named Shanta. Romapada accepted her as his daughter, and thereafter she married Rishringa. When the demigods from the heavenly planets failed to shower rain, Shringa was appointed the priest for performing a sacrifice. After being brought from the forest by the allurement of prostitutes who danced, staged theatrical performances accompanied by music, and embraced and worshipped him. After Shringa came, the rain fell. Thereafter, Shringa performed a sun-giving sacrifice on behalf of Maharaj Dasarat, who had no issue, and then Maharaj Dasarat had sons. From Ramapada, by the mercy of Shringa, Chaturanga was born, and from Chaturanga came Prithu-laksha. The sons of Prithu-laksha were Bhadrata. Interesting, I guess it's not mentioned here. I think Shringa was born with ears and horns of a cow, as far as I remember. There's some story about fruit being offered, some demigod offering some oblation, or some rishi offering some oblation, and somehow or another someone got the wrong oblation, and it was eaten by a cow. And the cow gave birth to Shringa, which is, and so he had the ears of a cow. He looked like a little bit like a cow, but he was a great rishi. He was brought up in the forest, and then later on, because it was understood that if he came to the country, then there would be rain. So the king got some prostitutes to go there, but he never saw a woman before. He didn't really know that they were ladies, and so they were dancing and etc. And he didn't really know who they were, but he was attracted to them. So we may be very austere for one lifetime, but we have our past consciousness, our past experience, and therefore it attracts us naturally. In any case, there's a story here how he came, and then there was rain, and then he came and performed a sacrifice, and the king got the children. So even since time immemorial, children are very important. Dynasties are very important, and they continue to be important even to the present day. Like, even if someone joins the Hare Krishna movement, but if they have children, then the parents forgive them. Everything's forgotten. You may have committed the sin of joining the Hare Krishna movement, but it's absolved if you have children. Carry on the dynasty. So this is true from time immemorial. Everyone wants their dynasty to be carried on. Of course, these kings, they understood that their children would perform sacrifice, especially for the Pitris. And that the kings, if they were pious, they go to the heavenly planets. As long as their children were performing sacrifices of their descendants, they'd be able to stay there. So it wasn't just to have little children like we have here and play around with them. It was actually some purpose of staying in the heavenly planets. But as things go on in Kali Yuga, when there's no sacrifice, I guess a lot of our ancestors fall down. Because there's no offering. As Krishna tells Arjuna, there's no offering of food and water to the ancestors, and therefore they fall down. And there's problems because of that. The son of Prithu-laksha were Brihadrata, Brihakarma, and Brihadanu. From the eldest Brihadrata came a son named Brihanmana, and from Brihanmana came a son named Jayadratha. The son of Jayadratha by the womb of his wife Sambhuti was Vijaya, and from Vijaya Dhriti was born. From Dhriti came Dhritavrata, from Dhritavrata Satkarma, and from Satkarma Adhirata. While playing on the bank of the Ganges, Adhirata found a baby wrapped up in a blanket. The baby had been left by Kunti because he was born before she was married. Because Adhirata had no sons, he raised this baby as his own. The son was later known as Karna. O king, The only son of Karna was Vrishasena. Druyo, the third son of Yayati, had a son named Babru, and the son of Babru was known as Setu. The son of Setu was Arabda. Arabda's son was Gandhara. It's interesting how, well, I guess we're hearing about another dynasty. Because Karna was contemporary with Krishna also. So although we're going through all these different dynasties, still somehow or other we always find someone in contemporary of Krishna. The son of Setu was Arabda. Arabda's son was Gandhara, and Gandhara's son was Dharma. Dharma's son was Drita. Drita's son was Dumata, and Dumata's son was Pracheta, who had 100 sons. The Prachetas, the sons of Pracheta, occupied the northern side of India, which is devoid of Vedic civilization, became kings there. Yati's second son was Tauravasu. The son of Tauravasu was Vani. The son of Vani, Bharga. The son of Bharga, Banuman. The son of Banuman was Tribhanu, and his son was magnanimous Karandama. Karandama's son was Marut, who had no sons, and who was therefore adopted the son of the Puru dynasty, merged Dushmanta as his own. Maharaj Dushmanta, desiring to occupy the throne, returned to his original dynasty, the Puru dynasty, even though he had accepted Maruta as his father. Maharaj Parikshit, now let me describe the dynasty of Yadu, the eldest son of Maharaj Yati. This description is supremely pious, and it vanquishes the reactions of sinful activities in human society. Simply by hearing this description, one is freed from all sinful reactions. The Supreme Personality of God had karma, Krishna. Anyhow, we finally come to a purport. So let's recite the Sanskrit for the first verse at least. Actually, we don't really have that much time. I'm just going to read it, because by the time we're done, we'll be done with the verse. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the super soul in the hearts of all living entities, descended in his original form as a human being in the dynasty or family of Yadu. Yadu had 4 sons named Sahasrajit, Kroshta, Nala, and Ripu. Of these 4, the eldest, Sahasrajit, had a son named Shatajit, who had 3 sons named Mahahaya, Renuhaya, and Haihaya. Purport: confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11, Vedanti tat tattva vidas tattva yaj jnanam avayam prameti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdite. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. The majority of transcendentalists understood only the impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma. The Supreme Personality of God is very difficult to understand. As the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita 7:3, Manushanam sahasreshu kasyad yadati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kasyamam viti tatvataha. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. The yogis and jnanis, that is, the mystic yogis and impersonalists, and understand the absolute truth is impersonal or localized. But although such realized souls are above ordinary human beings, they cannot understand how the Supreme Absolute Truth can be a person. Therefore it is said that out of many siddhas, the souls who have already realized the Absolute Truth, one may understand Krishna, who exactly resembles a human being, Narakriti. The human form was explained by Krishna himself after he manifested the Virat Rupa. Virat Rupa is not the original form of the Lord. The Lord's original form is Dvibhuja Shaima Sundara, Muralidhar, the Lord with 2 hands playing a flute, Yam Shaima Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam. The Lord's forms are proof of his inconceivable qualities. Although the Lord maintains innumerable universes within the period of his breath, he is dressed with a form exactly like that of a human being. This does not mean, however, that he is a human being. This is his original form. But because he looks like a human being, those with a poor fund of knowledge consider him an ordinary man. The Lord says, Abhijananti mamudha manushim tanum ashrityam param bhavam ajananta mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. By the Lord's param bhavam, or transcendental nature, he is the all-pervading Paramatma, living in the core of the hearts of living entities. Yet he looks like a human being. Mayavada philosophy says that the Lord is originally impersonal, but assumes a human form and many other forms when he descends. Actually, however, he is originally like a human being, and the impersonal Brahman consists of the rays of his body. Yasya prabha pravito jagadandakoti. So now we're going to hear about the dynasty of Yayati. And then the next chapter is about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that's a very... Then after that we come to the 10th canto. All this talk about all these different kings and the dynasties, etc., is all just meant to bring us to the 10th canto, so we can hear about Krishna's pastimes. The whole 9 cantos are a preparation, so we can accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then the 10th canto is meant to hear from the transcendental platform and to relish Krishna's transcendental pastimes, and therefore become eligible to go back to the spiritual world, like Parikshit Maharaj. So he patiently sat there and listened to the first 9 cantos, and then, which was probably at least half his time, 3.5 days, and then he had 3 days or so to hear the 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, the pastimes of Krishna. Because after all, from the very beginning of the Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva was despondent, because after compiling all the Vedic literature, he still was not satisfied. And therefore, Srila Narada Muni, his spiritual master, came and told him, the reason why you're not satisfied is because you haven't adequately glorified Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, Srila Vyasadeva, bhakti-yoga manasi, samyak pranihite male, apaisha purusham purnam, maya chattarapashrayam. Therefore, Srila Vyasadeva sat in meditation, and in that meditation he saw Krishna, and he saw Maya on the backside. And he saw Krishna was the pure, Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of everything. And that's what the whole Bhagavatam is about. But in order to prepare us to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we have the first 9 cantos. And then the 10th canto is supposed to be, we're relishing the transcendental pastimes of Krishna from the transcendental platform. And if we can't do that, it's all right, because we go through the 10th canto and then we come back, usually we go to the 11th and 12th, and we come back to the first canto to learn, hopefully this time, one of those times we actually accept Krishna as God, and therefore we go back to the spiritual world after some repetition of these cantos again and again. We'll at least come to the transcendental platform and actually focus our attention and completely give our love to Krishna. So I'll stop there. Any questions or comments? Any questions about any of these names? Yes.
Hare Krishna. First, I have a short comment, if it's okay.
As long as it's very short.
In regard to the long list of these names is that they're given in Bhagavatam for authenticity, so that what comes next, 10th canto, Krishna's life and his personalities. Because if there's no family trees and all that, then somebody say, oh, this is made up. That's one of the reasons why they say, why this is here. My question is regarding, yes, one of the yesterday's verses.
Yeah.
About Vichitravirya being attached to Ambika and Ambalika, and then because of attachment, he got stroke and he died. Tuberculosis, stroke, tuberculosis, and then he died.
Well, first he got tuberculosis, then he got a stroke, and then he died.
Okay. So I was wondering if there is some instruction or philosophical point that is there, because this sounds quite strong, because of attachment, that his attachment was caused.
Not just he was attached. Obviously, he had too much sense gratification. And that weakened him, and therefore he got tuberculosis. And after that, because he got tuberculosis, he got a heart attack and he died. So the purport is, don't get too much involved in sense gratification, or else you'll die early. Therefore, we're advised to follow four of the principles, not just for the sake of following it, but for the sake of our well-being also, spiritually and materially. Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna. It was a year ago, I was speaking with one Indian devotee Mataji, very serious in Krishna consciousness, and she was explaining me how we are neglecting these oblations to the forefathers, pindas and such things, And I was trying to tell her, but we are practicing Krishna consciousness and trying to chant, and we are doing all of these duties. But I would like to ask you, this balance, because sometimes devotees say, I'm just chanting, and sometimes it's empty chanting, and how much we are actually satisfying all of these other things if we are not really honestly practicing Krishna consciousness.
Well, we're not honestly practicing Krishna consciousness, then it's probably very unlikely we'd honestly practice anything else either in Kali Yuga. We're not capable of performing homa and sacrifices because we don't chant the Vedic mantras properly. We don't chant the Hare-Krishna mantra properly, but we certainly won't be able to chant the Vedic mantras properly. You have to be trained up in Gurukul as a celibate student for decades, sometimes decades. So Devarsha Bhutatmarinam Pritrinam Nikinkaro Yaksarnam Sharanyam. That if one at least tries to satisfy Krishna, then to some extent the forefathers will be satisfied more than anything else we're going to do for them. Deva, Rishi, Bhuta, Apta. So these people, that's our philosophy. Ita turamulam nishechanena triptyanti tat skanda bujopushaka pranaharascha tendriyanam tataiva achuteja. That if you water the root of the tree, then naturally the water goes to the leaves and branches. If you satisfy the stomach, then naturally the food goes to all the different parts of the body, the nutrition. Similarly, if you serve the demigods, Itatura mula nishechanena triptanti tat skanda bujopashaka pranharachitendriyana tataiva sarvahanam atuteja. So similarly, if you satisfy the demigods, then also, if you satisfy Krishna, or at least try, then the demigods and everyone else will get some satisfaction. So even in the Vedic hymns, when you do the homa or the sacrifice of the forefathers, what makes it work is chanting Om, asking Krishna to make it work. Without Krishna making it work, it doesn't work. Everything depends on Krishna's satisfaction, even in the Vedic mantras. Therefore, Prabhupada said even when we do our fire sacrifice for initiation, it's more or less just for show. No demigod is falling down from the sky to observe our fire sacrifice. But when we chant Hare Krishna, that has some effect, even if it's not perfectly performed. Even if there is, as long as we have the correct understanding. If we chant like the Mayavadis, then it may be namaparat. But if we try to chant, even negligently, then it'll have some effect. Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna, I wanted to ask, in one of those texts was mentioned name Daksha. Is the same Daksha which offended Lord Shiva?
I don't know. I don't have no idea. There's a lot of names, Shibi and all kinds of things that are mentioned there. Sometimes people get the name. Daksha is a pretty common name. It means expert.
Thank you.
It wasn't considered important enough, at least in Prabhupada's purpose, to mention which Daksha it was. So it was the Daksha that was cursed by Lord Shiva, had gotten his head cut off and replaced with that of a goat, died shortly, and then he was reborn, and he cursed Narada Muni and had 10,000 sons. But maybe it could be because. And then it mentions here the Prachetas. So which are these Prachetas? But it couldn't be the same Prachetas that Daksha's sons, because they all got liberated. So I kind of doubt it, because Daksha was born and he was quite powerful personality, but he wasn't born. It's very unlikely he was born in the last 5,000 years. Yes.
Gurudev, I have a question regarding forefathers. So in India, we have this Shraddh ceremony every year. So all the people, so for your grandfather, forefathers who have died, so they do this ceremony for them. And so of course we are not qualified brahmanas or anything that we chant some mantra and something will happen. But so I just wanted to know if it's okay the way we do. Like my parents, they just offer food to Krishna, and that prasad we offer in front of our ancestors' picture, and
that's all right.
we prayed.
I'm not omniscient, so I can't really say what the effect is. But everything depends on the purity of the offering and where your forefathers are. If our great-grandfather became a dog, he's not in the Pitri planet. I don't know if he's going to be able to accept it.
That's what I was thinking. If they have gone into the lower,
So anyhow, there's some sentiment there, but it's better than, it's not a bad sentiment. It's a good sentiment. At least there's some Vedic connection with the Vedic culture there, so that's nice. And certainly, if there's a connection with Krishna, that's even better. And maybe they're on the Pitri planet, so you get some prasadam, so that's good too. Who knows? Anything else? Wala Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Pimanande.